This is the easiest, most delicious roasted beef tenderloin that you will ever make. It's guaranteed to be flavorful, super bouncy, super juicy, and so easy you will not believe it. I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm going to show you how I make my roasted beef tenderloin. Now, there are many ways that you can make a beef tenderloin in terms of flavor. I like to keep mine very simple, especially when it comes to making it for a holiday meal, because I want the flavors to sort of complement everything else. So I always just use rosemary and garlic, and I do a little bit of red wine, and it's delicious, and I serve it with a horseradish sour cream sauce, and it's just loved by all. You can do different rubs on it if you want to. Like I said, for a holiday, because it is a pricey cut of meat, I like to keep it basic so that it goes with my roast potatoes and my broccolini and my salads just perfectly. So let's get into it. This is very easy. You're going to love it. The first thing I've done is preheat my oven to 425. I want it really hot. This is a beef tenderloin. Some parts of it would be a little bit fatty, but it's been well trimmed. I trimmed this myself, but I would suggest you get you butcher to do that if you are not so familiar with cleaning a tenderloin, because you really don't want to waste it. You don't want to mess with it if you don't know what you're doing, because it is pretty expensive, right? So the method does not change based on the size of your beef tenderloin. This isn't that big. It's about 3 pounds. Which is sort of perfect for, I would say, 6 people, because, I mean, by the time it shrinks, it'll be a little under 3 pounds, and that's feeding 6 people very well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do, so I told you I have the oven preheated. The next thing I'm going to do is cut a bunch of kitchen twine, because we have to tie this beef tenderloin. You don't want to miss or skip this part, because otherwise everything would just kind of be uneven, and trust me, it's a necessary part of this whole shebang. I also have a large skillet preheating over medium-high heat, and it is an oven-proof skillet because I'm going to take the skillet and throw it right into the oven. Once I get all of these cut and I start tying my tenderloin, then we can talk about thermometers that I think is really important when you're cooking a cut of meat like this, especially an expensive cut of meat, because you don't want to risk overcooking it. So let me get all these cut and then we move forward. Okay, so I'm gonna season my board, and the reason I do that is because I find it just a little bit easier to do this, to season the underside of my roast. That makes any sense? It works, just trust me. I got this tip from Jamie Oliver years ago, and watch. See? Perfectly seasoned on the bottom. Beautiful. And now I take a little bit of salt, and we do this on the top and on the sides. Unseasoned meat is probably like one of the worst things on the planet, so season and season it well. Now you're wondering, you forgot to put the garlic and the rosemary. Well, here's the thing. We're going to roast this into the oven at a really high temperature. What I do not want is for that rosemary and garlic to burn if I were to sear it in a really hot pan now and then throw it into the oven. So what I do is I sear this as is, right? And then I combine garlic, rosemary, a little bit of salt and pepper, and some olive oil, and then I smear it all over the whole thing before it goes into the oven, and you just wait. It's phenomenal. Okay, my pan is hot and it's ready, and I want to sear this on all sides. Take some oil. I want to sear this on all sides, so I'm just gonna be very patient about it. I'm not gonna rush the process. Oh, let's talk thermometers, okay? I know that you're not going to want to hear this from me, but you need to invest in an oven-safe thermometer for your meats, okay? This is a ThermPro. I have 2 of these because I love these so much. What this does is it allows you to set the temperature of the meat that you want, like the temperature that you want it cooked at, right? So I like my meat, my tenderloin, I like to pull it out of the oven in 125, and it will carry over cook a little, like 5 to 7 more degrees. So I set it at 125, and then before it goes into the oven, I will stick the probe in there, and this sits on the counter, and this sits into the oven, right? And when it reaches 125, it will beep. And then I know my meat is perfectly cooked. It doesn't have to, I don't have to worry. Obviously, if you don't have one of those and you have a regular meat thermometer, you're gonna have to check it. I don't like to pull it out any later than 125 because I like mine quite pink. But hey, it's totally up to you. You can change that number however your heart desires. But it's a tenderloin, so please don't take it out at medium well or well done, or I will cry because it is expensive and it needs to be buttery. So I'm gonna clear, I'm gonna wash my hands, and then we get going on chopping up the garlic and the rosemary. So I went ahead and chopped up the rosemary and the garlic, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a touch of salt to it because when I do this to the garlic and the rosemary with the salt, it kind of starts to create more of a paste, which I really like. But you don't really, I mean, is it necessary? No, but I really like it. The beef is looking, I mean, really gorgeous. Look at that. Don't forget the ends. It takes literally a second, but it is important. Look at that. Oh, my word. I mean, you just know it's going to be fantastic, right? Look at that beauty. Okay, turning this down now because it's done its thing. Go ahead and turning it down. It just smells so good. It smells so good. I also feel like when it comes to tenderloin, it's such a prime cut of meat and you're spending a pretty penny on it. So I don't want to muck about with flavors too much because I don't want to lose the buttery flavor of the tenderloin. So that's why I like to keep them like that. Okay, so to that, I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil. I'm also gonna go ahead and take a pretty big size onion, so I may just do half. I put it around because when I add a bit of wine and a bit of water to the pan, it does create a really delicious flavor for a sauce. It's fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this with my hands. Don't recommend. Use a spoon, but you know me, I like living on the edge. And now that will be amazing. As it roasts into the oven, that flavor will be in the sauce that will then end up being drizzled on the sliced beef. Woo! Just gonna let that sit there for a second so I can wash my hands, and then we're gonna add a little bit of wine and our thermometer, and we throw it into the oven. Stick the probe in. Beautiful. Okay. Time has started. We're going to go ahead and add a bit of water and a bit of red wine. And now I'm going to go ahead and throw this in my really hot oven to roast until the internal temperature hits 125. A size like this, it's going to take 20 minutes, no longer. You'll see. So, wish me luck. The big pan. But you know, I don't work out for nothing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I'm not that buff, but I try. Yahtzee. Get that in. The thermometer will live up here. As my friend Tony Soprano used to say, bada bing, bada boom. I'm gonna clean, and I'll see you soon. A rhyme again. I mean, I'm on this. On the ball. Okay, so I roasted it until the thickest part reached 125. Now I cover it with some aluminum foil when it comes out so that it does carry overcook, and I carried it over to about 135. You can see, I hope you can see anyway, you can just tell by how bouncy it is that it's going to be pretty rare, which is kind of how I like it, but the front here will be a little bit more cooked. So if that kind of freaks you out to see, red meat, then you know, cook it a little bit longer. It's totally up to you. I just would not cook a piece of meat this pricey. Like I said, well done, because it has no fat. So it's very lean. It's got very little fat running through it. So it's just going to dry it out and be shoe leather, and nobody wants that. Before you slice it, make sure you get rid of your strings. You don't want to eat that. And now look in the pan. It created a gorgeous sauce to spoon over the sliced beef. I'm also going to serve it with a horseradish cream sauce, which I will actually have the recipe for you in the same recipe that this would be on. This is going to be on my website. I'm going to have that recipe there for you as well with this one, because the two together are pretty phenomenal. and I just love it. So strings are almost all gone. And then we get to slicing. Make sure that you please let your meat rest for at least 10 minutes because otherwise you're gonna be washing off, basically all the goodness from the inside is gonna wash out. So, string is out. Let's give this a little cut. So these will be a little bit more cooked, and then as you get to the thicker part, they will be a bit more rare, which is exactly how I like it. Like I said, this is a prime piece of meat, so I don't want to cook this until it's well done or even close, but to me, this right here is perfection. See that? Beautiful. And that was taken out at 125. So if you take it out any, more, then as it sits, it will carry over cook. So you're just gonna have to be careful. And I am slicing very thick slices, and that's very generous, but hey, if you're not gonna feed your people generously, then what's the point? At least that's my opinion, right? And like I said, you can certainly cook this to whatever temperature you like. Some people will say that even this is a little bit too well done. I think it's pretty perfect. It tends to please everyone, even those that don't like their meat really underdone. So I'm gonna reserve that for me. I'm gonna pour the juices in there. And then what I do is I kind of mix those around like that, which is what my Nonna would do. I'm gonna move this closer to me, and that's my piece right there. This is my piece right here, which, I mean, really, it slices like butter, right? Delicious. I already know. Oh, my word. Mmm. Then you take this beautiful sauce that I just literally poured all over the place. Move this pan closer, right? That would make so much more sense. It's just so phenomenal, such a crowd pleaser. Everyone loves it. The meat really shines through. The rosemary and garlic will go so well with the rest of my menu. Nothing is going to compete. I do a little bit of fresh rosemary around and some fresh parsley to really make it shine. And that is a gorgeous feast. That is so perfect. I like to hit it with just a touch of salt because the inside of the meat, makes really everything stand out. And it's perfect. It's simple. The technique is very easy. The technique works with every size of tenderloin that you have, so it doesn't really matter. You just do it this way, you cook it this way, and it will be perfect every single time. Go to laurainthekitchen.com for the written recipe. I'm staring at it like it's gonna walk away from me. laurainthekitchen.com has a written recipe for you. Hope you've enjoyed spending time with me. I hope that you make this for your holiday table or just any special occasion. It's butter. I mean, it is literally butter, and this pan sauce, it cooks itself. Recipe's there. I'll see you next time. Bye.